It's time to get the fuel injectors out of the beast's engine. And you don't have a lot of room to work here. You can see the injection pump is embedded right down here between the two intake manifolds. And your access is limited. Without this special wrench I've got here, you'd be very hard pressed to get these injector hardline nuts loosened up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen up. I've already removed one injector on that side over there, but I'm going to remove these four and test them this morning. And I'm going to just loosen up all the lines on the top of the pump. That'll allow me to move the lines out of the way when I pull injectors out. So you can see how access right straight down on top of that nut isn't too bad with this wrench. And once I break them loose, I can reach in there and I'm going to spin them back 4 or 5 turns. Okay, let's get this one. You can move this wrench around and get it in the right position. Okay. No, not enough yet. Imagine trying to get a regular open-end wrench down in here. That would be quite something, wouldn't it? Some of these are pretty tight too. On the injector side, I've actually used some PB blaster to get these nuts loosened up on top of the injectors. Okay, just loosen these two a little bit more here. Okay, now that I've gotten these loose, I'm going to move over here on this side and we're going to start removing the injectors. You can see I removed the valve cover. This will allow better access into these injectors located right here, and of course I use this plastic to cover over the cam assembly. You want to be really careful you don't let anything drop down, particularly down in this chain area right there. So last night I sprayed some PB blaster on each one of these nuts, and I sprayed a little bit more on again this morning. It's just helping these loosen up. So we'll get the special wrench in here. Okay, that one's loose. Get over here on the rear one. Now the fact that I've put PB blaster in there is going to allow me to probably get these off, at least most of them off, by hand. Now notice here, once these are loose, because I've loosened up the hard lines at the pump, I can move these out of the way enough to get these injectors out. You can see 2 number 10 nuts that will have to be removed to lift the fuel injector out of the manifold. Pulling these injectors out is not difficult, but it's a little tedious. So I'm only going to show you one in this video. I don't think you need to watch me pull all 4 of them out. A couple things you need to be careful about. Number one, these nuts, boy, if you drop them down in those holes, let me tell you, they're going to be really hard to find. So I get, if you don't have a deep magnetic socket, I get a magnet handy, and then I'm just very careful when I remove these nuts that I don't watch. In this video scene, I'll go ahead and drop one. That's Murphy's Law, right? So I'm just going to spin them out until they get close. Right about there. Now I'll get in here with my hand. Look at that, it's stuck. All right, so I'm not going to use the car wrench. I'm just do this by hand. Kind of feel them out. Okay. Then I'll get the magnet in here so you can get that washer off. The washer is more difficult to get out than the nut. Okay. That's a wave washer. Now let's get this other one out. Okay, it's coming out by hand. Just make sure you get a really good grip on it. When you're turning this nut out, the last few threads. All right, success. Now let's get this washer out. You got to pull up on one side. Okay, success. Can you imagine? Can you imagine dropping that washer way down in there? Oh boy, that's not fun. All right, now I can get the block out. Lift this block out, top block, and then the injector is stuck in this lower block. So I sprayed some PB Blaster down here, and you have to be able to hold the block down and pull the injector out. If they come up together, if you lift them up together, it's not going to come out. I know it's almost impossible to film down in here, but see, if you lift them up together, they're just not going to come out. What I do, because I have access to these injector hardlines that we manufacture here in our shop for our injection testers, I can just get a straight piece of this injector line and get a hold of the end of that injector. Now I'm going to reach in here and I've got to hold down on the block. Now if you can't hold on the block, you'll need to put a little spacer and put the nuts back on. But let's see how tight this one is. I'm going to hold down, get a hold of this line, and then I'm going to wiggle it like this, kind of rotate it. Here it comes. Here it comes. Okay. All right, I got it out. Now this is where it gets really tricky. Let's see if I can get this out with the injector line still attached, because you got to kind of twist. And look at this. You got to get it all the way over there like this. See how you got to twist it off the side? Look at the curvature in this fuel injector right here. See that? They only gave you a very minimal clearance to get this out, and it has to come out at just the right angle. Look at the tip there. Not bad. You know, there's a little bit of dampness on the tip. That's amazing for 18 years. Okay, I'll get the rest of the other 3 injectors out, and then we'll take a closer look at them on the bench. I pulled these 4 out. I'm only going to do 4 for the purpose of this video, because you know I'm going to have to do the other 4 too. But I think you'll get the idea when I'm done with just these right here. First off, look at how different they are from the injectors that we pulled out of Happier, my 280SL. You see, this one's pretty funny looking. Look at the curvature in that. That's to get it located in the right position in the engine to inject the fuel. So, but the principles are the same in how they work internally. And we're going to be using the good old pressure tester here, just like we did on Happier's injectors, to see how these perform. I wonder if they're going to be as bad, all right? So it's just a matter of hooking these up like this. Now I'm going to tip them sideways to see if we can get a good view through the bag. If you haven't seen that previous video, I'm using diesel fuel, not gasoline, okay. And I'm using plastic bags to minimize the fumes inside the shop. Once again, normally I do this outside with the wind blowing or a fan and wear a mask. But I think I can just show you briefly what these look like and how well they spray or don't spray. And this is what we're going to do. We're going to go through each one of them so you can see how all 4 of them look right now. Remember, these injectors have not had any fuel run through them in 18 years, and they're amazingly clean. I don't see any signs of heavy varnish buildup or any type of rust or contamination, but I don't expect very much when they've been sitting as long as they have. They should fire about 240 to 250 psi, so I'm bringing the gauge up now. I'm going to just pump it up slowly. I'm already at 250, I'm at 300, so that obviously they're stuck. I'm over here now already at 400 psi. All right, it starts to fire. Notice it's atomizing okay. but it is firing way, way too late. So what I'll do is I'll just give it a couple of bursts. Oh, wow. Okay, I broke it loose because it was stuck, but look at that spray pattern now. I'm not even able to build up past 100 psi on this one. And look at how much fuel it's squirting into the bag on just a few strokes. Some of you wonder why I didn't just fire this up right away after getting the car. Now you know why, okay? Let's take a look at number 2. I don't expect number 2 to be any better. Here's crossing my fingers, okay? All right, up comes the pressure. We're at 200, 300, same thing. We're already up to 400 psi, 450, 500. It's still not breaking loose. I'm at 550, and I'm already at 600 psi. So this one would probably not even fire if I tried to. And it's interesting, it's not leaking. Leaking down on the gauge very rapidly. I'm just going to give it a little, oh man, I'm going to wreck the gauge on this one because I'm already pegging, there we go. All right, I got it to break loose at about 600 psi. All right, now it's coming up back up to 300. Look at it's atomizing. No, 400. All right, let's give it a couple squirts here. All right, now we're firing at about just under 200. But look at that nice spray pattern, and look at that beautiful atomization. Could you imagine how much fuel you're dumping into the oil trying to run an engine with injectors like this? Number 3 is up. Okay, immediately we got 300 psi, 400, 500, same thing. These things are stuck. Okay, I'm going to give it a little burst. I'm already at 600. Man, I'm going to back the pressure down because I don't want to damage my gauge. My gauge is pegged out probably just past 600 psi. Wow. Okay, I got it to break free. Now let's just pump a few bursts to see if we can clean it out a little bit. Well, this would be fun trying to get the engine running with these injectors in the end. Look at that one. That one's firing about 300 psi, and look at that beautiful spray pattern. Look at how much fuel it's dumping into the bag. Okay, here's number 4. I don't hold down much hope after what we've seen on those previous 3, but let's give it a try. All right, same problem. You know, I'm bringing it up to high pressure, well over 500 psi. I'm not getting it to break. And you do have to be careful. You can damage these gauges if they only go to 600 psi. Okay, this one is not even spraying. What I'm going to have to do is put it on my diesel pressure tester that goes to 3,000 psi. Look at that, it will not fire. This one is totally stuck, probably varnished up from that old fuel sitting in there. So this is the type of problem you can expect when you get one of these engines that's been sitting a long time with the old mechanical fuel injection. So we're going to put this one on my higher pressure tester to get it freed up. But I think in closing this section of the video, I'm going to show you one. I have another one, a spare that's firing properly, and I got to show you what that should look like. This spare one I have around is not firing perfectly. I think I need a little more cleaning, but at least it's going to give you an idea of what they should fire like. I'm just going to bring it right up to about, I'll give it a couple squirts to kind of clean the tip out, and then watch this, see? Right at 245, see it chirp? And it's just releasing. And the gauge is not moving. The gauge is not coming down. And look at the difference in the amount of fuel in the bag. So that's what we're after. Something like this, not something that's milking like a cow, as my mechanic says. For those of you out there who think I have already fired up the beast, well, this shows you a good example of why I haven't, and why I haven't been in that big a hurry until I deal with the fuel injectors and the fuel injection pump. So I've got my work cut out for me. I'm going to go ahead now, this afternoon, I'll pull those other 4 injectors out on the left side, and then we'll start taking these through the cleaning process. Now, there is hope. By the way, this one that I just showed you, this extra one I have, sprayed just like these did when I first tested it a couple weeks ago, and I went through the cleaning process and look at it now. So if I can, I mean it's very important because of how valuable these injectors are that I get them firing properly, okay? And then we'll get the injectors back in. Now I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you the results before we put them back in the engine. So don't worry about that. And then I've got to start getting ready to run some cleaner through the injection pump before we button everything back up and start to get closer to getting the beast to fire.